All right, listen, marketing doesn't happen in theory. You can't theoretically plan where you're going to market for Q2. This is, if you're listening to this when this episode drops, this is the first week, probably first day of quarter two. And this is when stuff gets real. You have to actually start making a plan in order to market. Saying things like, I'm going to run a marketing campaign this quarter. I'm going to do more marketing events, or I'm going to run paid advertising this quarter. That stuff it's not specific enough. And let's be honest, this doesn't lead to any sort of action. What you need to do in order to plan your marketing and more importantly to execute on your marketing is figure out exactly what you're going to do and what you're going to market and how you're going to execute on that over the next 3 months. And that's exactly what I'm going to do in today's podcast. Specifically, we're going to go over what themes or what events or what's going on in Q2 that can help you action on creating a legit marketing campaign for the quarter and not put together another marketing campaign where you say, I'm going to do marketing this quarter and then, not actually end up doing anything because you haven't planned anything specific and it's really hard to action on those types of things. So let's dive into it. Let's think about Q2, right? Obviously we're talking about the months of April, May, and June here. So what we have to do is we have to think about what's going on during these months. This is obviously very location specific. April, May, and June look a lot different in Maine than April, May, and June look in Phoenix, Arizona, or Texas. You have to understand what's going on. This is why this is so custom for you. And there's not just a cookie cutter Q2 marketing campaign that you can run. I've been doing this for 4 years now with a combination of doing Ripple's Q2 marketing campaign and, doing it for Patch for the last couple of years. There's probably, a dozen things that you can start to plan out for Q2 marketing wise. So today what I'm going to go over what the biggest three are and the three biggest that we see work the best. Okay. I'm going to go over the exact marketing campaigns that we put together and how you can start planning this. So grab a pen, grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, write all this stuff down because this is stuff that you need to start actioning on in April in order to make this super effective. So the first big one, this is what we call a fresh start marketing campaign. Fresh start marketing campaigns in the PT world are honestly very, very successful. There's actually 3 different times of the year where you can put a fresh start marketing campaign together. If you think about it, right, there's New Year's. So people are coming into the new year thinking, hey, I have this fresh start, new year, new me. I'm going to really dedicate my time and efforts to fitness and getting out of pain and working out a little bit more. That's a really great time to market. There's also the post Labor Day, quote unquote, fresh start. So same sort of concept, right? Where we're now coming out of summer and that season is done and kids are back in school and there's no more summer vacation. So now I can, again, have time, effort. I can get into the habit of getting out of pain, getting back to my workouts, et cetera, et cetera. Q2 is actually one of those fresh starts as well. And this is a really good time to lean into this fresh start because think about it, especially if you're in New England or in a state that has winter, people are rolling out of the winter months right now. During winter, it's a lot easier to hole up, not do any sort of activity. And as soon as it starts getting nice out, I'm in Boston, it was 60 degrees today. I went for a run. I was like, fuck yes, it is so nice outside. I want to get back outside and I want to start doing things. And for me, right, I just went for a 5-mile run and I haven't ran all winter long because it's winter and it's snowing and it's, negative 10 degrees outside. And my calf hurts right now as I'm recording this podcast. So that I am your ideal customer that you should be marketing to. So that's where that fresh start comes into play of hey, if you want to come out of the summer months, you feel this fresh start, you want to get back outside, you want to exercise a little bit more. That is the problem that you're marketing to. And the solution is coming in for physical therapy visits. That is, what we talk about when we're talking about a fresh start campaign. So this is way more legit for the New England based seasonal regions of the US and what we see in terms of an offer that you run for that, because that's obviously super important, right? You have to think about the theme and what you're going to lean into when you're talking to the people on your list. But you also have to come up with an offer as well, because if your offer sucks, then people aren't going to move forward. It doesn't matter how creative that copy is or how good, or how much time you take to write those emails. So what we see work really well here is you start with a discounted evaluation. So you need to get people back in the door. We usually offer up this discounted evaluation for new patients or returning patients. So basically, like if people have never been in to see us, that would be a new patient, one-off evaluation. Or if they're a returning patient, so they haven't been in a while, maybe they have 1 or 2 sessions. Usually I don't love that, but definitely somebody that has been in, finished their package, and then wants to come back in. We do a $59, $49, $79, $99 re-entry evaluation. That's just a one-off session. And then we usually run a discounted 8-pack of sessions off of that, because if we think about April, May, June, July, and then August, we have 5 months there. 8 sessions is usually enough to get them through the summertime. That's coming in once or twice a month. People are super busy. People have vacations. That sounds good to people in theory. Like this is going to get you to, September, where kids are going back to school. So again, like rationalizing that for a potential customer is a lot easier. So I think a lot of people, usually say like, oh, I don't want to like run that discounted evaluation, or should I send this out to my whole list? And it's, yes, like there's no reason why you would not want to get more people to come in, even if it's a little bit cheaper. Because now you have the opportunity to upsell them into a package. I'll take that all day long, because those people that are inquiring, they probably wouldn't have moved forward anyways. They probably would have gone through the summer and not reached out because they are super busy. So I think that's a really important thing to remember there. And take the discount. I think that's totally fine. I wouldn't worry about it. The second campaign that we run is a running campaign. And this is like the same thought process, right? Of like the Fresh Start campaign, where it's really the same message. It's just a little bit more drilled down and targeted to a specific demographic of people. So we're talking to runners here, right? But the thought process behind it is still the same, where again, like using me as an example, you probably didn't log as many consistent miles all winter because it's winter. Now it's nice out and you want to get back out there, and you just bought brand new running shoes, and the Boston Marathon is coming up and all these spring races are happening, and you want to get out there and you want to start running, but your body isn't ready for that. And the only place to get your body ready for it is at physical therapy. If you want to log those miles, if you want to do the Sunday run with your friends, if you want to stay active during the spring and the summertime, then you need to come in and see us. And we really like to lean into like the spring and summer races here. Obviously with me, with Ripple being in Boston, we really leaned into the Boston Marathon. That was obviously a huge selling point for us. Just the buzz in the city, even just like recreational runners were so hyped to start running come April. And again, I'm not usually in Boston, but I am this weekend, and I can feel the buzz going on, and we're still a couple weekends away from the actual marathon happening. So if you have those races coming up in your community, maybe it's even just a half marathon, or people are training for bigger races, really lean into that. And if you can tailor that in your copy, in your messaging, in the emails that you're sending out, that's how you get somebody to move forward. We always have to think about aspirational identity when we're writing these emails. If somebody has the aspirations, or they want to identify themselves with finishing a race and PRing a race, and you talk about that in the email, the odds of them clicking the button and the call to action and going to the landing page and filling out a form and coming in for that evaluation goes way, way up. So, this is where copy is so important. And you can't just say, hey, we're running this like summer run strong campaign, come in, please. You need to really you need to nail your copy with these, and it needs to be very specific to what your demographic is dealing with. So that's, the copy side of all this stuff. Let's talk about the package. I think, again, it's very similar to the Fresh Start campaign. That one-off evaluation, I think this is just a little bit more tailored to what type of running offer do you have? Do you have a video gait analysis that you're doing? Do you have a treadmill in-house that you can utilize for a gait analysis? Can you take somebody outdoors and film, their running stride, and then, create a program based off of that? I think you need to start there, because if you're running a run-specific campaign and you're calling yourself a running specialist, you need to have some sort of gait analysis. I know a lot of people that have a lot of really good success with this, like Run ASI, Run SI, video gait analysis. People do some really creative things here. So you can just hop on Instagram, see what the running experts out there are doing, and try to, copy what they're doing there. And then I think it's the same sort of thing of you're offering, kind of this like 5 or 10 pack of sessions. What happens with running a lot of times when you're doing an email marketing campaign is you'll have somebody come in for this like video gait analysis and they're not really hurt and they just want to go through this run analysis just to get a little bit of information. Golfers are the same exact thing. If you have this TPI screen, golfers eat that shit up because they just want to see like, what can I do to improve my swing? I'm not necessarily in pain, but I want to see what I can do to improve my swing. So you need to have some sort of offer for those people that aren't hurt. You can't just say like, oh, like you come in for physical therapy or you don't, because that's not going to work with these other subspecialties. And kind of getting off on a tangent here, we see this a lot with the meta ads as well. If you're running a golf specific meta ad or a running specific meta ad, and you're trying to sell those people physical therapy off of a running assessment, you're going to have really low success rate because a lot of those people aren't going to be hurt and they don't really need traditional PT, but they need running performance help. And if you're advertising for running or if you're advertising for golf or something along those lines, then you need to create some sort of offer for this subspecialty. In this case, we're talking about running here. How can you talk about running strength training with your 10 to 20 miles every single week, or running strength training to, post Boston Marathon? How are you going to loop that in with your demographic and really put something together that's going to resonate with them? So that's the second campaign. So we've got two kind of fresh, starty ones here. Third one, it's very similar. These all sound super similar, right? Because they're all happening at the same time. So they're just little tweaks on itself to make it resonate with your audience a little bit more. So again, like we have like our traditional, just like normal fresh start. That's the first one that I went over. That's going to be like pretty general, applies to everyone really. Then we have the running specific one. That's going to be for clinics that specialize in running, obviously. And then this third one here is we ran this last year and it was really successful for a lot of clinics. And this is like it was a 12 weeks to the 4th of July plan. And this was a lot more successful for those clinics that lean on the performance side of things and their avatars, these active adults, and they really lean into like the strength conditioning side of things. So really what we're doing here, right, is April rolls around, starts getting nicer, and then summer vacations start happening in July and August. So we put this program together to say like, hey, you've got 12 weeks until quote unquote summer actually starts. You gotta start hitting the gym now. It's been a long winter, and if you try to hit the gym on your own, chances are you're gonna get hurt, you're not gonna see the progress that you wanna make, and if you wanna look, feel, when you're going on vacation, coming in for this 12-week program here is gonna be really, really important. This like the 12 weeks to the 4th, it positions your service not only as something that will help them get out of pain, but to help them look and feel better once the 4th of July, rolls around. So the copy that you're putting together should talk about like physical therapy and strength training, and it should appeal to people who are looking to get out of pain, but also feel their best and look the best. So again, this is very different than just like the traditional fresh start or the running campaign. This is for a specific audience that wants to get out of pain, wants to train hard, and they also want to look and feel their best, because this 12-week to the 4th of July, it's kind of like a personal training program, to be totally honest with you. It's just with a physical therapy spin on it because we're selling physical therapy services, but it looks a lot like, a personal training plan. And that's okay. Like, leaning into that. That stuff sells. That is really, really good. Like I said, we had a couple clinics like were really successful with that last year. So I wouldn't hesitate to lean into something. And, but again, like this is something that you have to start messaging in April, right? Because 12 weeks to the 4th of July is end of this week, basically, right? It's going to be April 4th. And so, if you're going to run a 12 weeks to the 4th of July plan, then you need to start marketing for that thing now. And then you just adjust your offer as time goes on. You can say, hey, we got 6 more weeks. There's 8 more weeks. There's 2 more months, however you want to do it with your copy. And then you can adjust the package from there. When you're putting this package together, right, you can think about who your demographic is, what they usually do. If it's a 12-week program, maybe you're selling a 12-pack of sessions for whatever that discount might be. That's a pretty easy one to figure out there. So those are the 3 marketing campaigns that you can run in Q2. Again, like we have to think about the season and what's going on. If you're in Phoenix, Arizona, Texas, I use those as examples because we put together a lot of marketing campaigns for clinics in that area. You're kind of doing the opposite here, right? You're either saying like, hey, like come in before, it gets way too hot outside and you can't do anything. We also we did like a like a group strength training program, because it is getting so hot out that you're not doing stuff outdoors anymore, so you need to come inside and exercise. I think a lot of people in those areas leave as well, so you're almost pitching a little bit more on the remote side of things. So that's where, these things aren't like super cookie cutter. And at Patch, we put together tons of campaigns that resonate with different clinics. You always need to be thinking about that, is what's going to resonate with your demographic. For example, right, of like we're doing a master's email drip. This is a little bit more of a nurture style email, but it resonates with the golfers. It gives topical examples of how, PGA players like Rory McIlroy are in the gym, doing plyometrics, using the TPI screening, and they're really like working out hard. And if you want to be as good of a golfer as the guys on tour, then you need to be doing this stuff as well. We send like up-to-date emails about the event. We did the same thing with the CrossFit Open last quarter. Speaking of CrossFit, we do like a Murph prep email. So if you have a super CrossFit heavy list and, during the month of May, you can't just send a, hey, come in for the Murph special the day before people are all doing Murph. You need to talk about it all month and get people prepped and then get them in the door from there. We have a Mother's Day special for the pelvic health clinics. We have like a return from college, youth athlete plan. I guess those aren't youth athletes, those are college athletes. But again, if like athletes are at college, they're back home for the summertime, they need a place to work out. What better place if you're a demographic and you have the place to let these guys train? You need to market for those things though. They're just not going to magically show up, right? The options really are endless, and the key is picking what's best for your clinic and your demographic, because really like you got two basically. You got to be running your newsletter on a weekly basis, if at the minimum bi-weekly basis, and then you can choose one of these, like what is the specific marketing campaign that I'm going to run. Again, in Q2, what's the recurring theme here? Even though these are Q2 plans, they start in April and they last throughout the whole quarter. And again, that's just not by accident. That's how you get these things to work. They cannot just be one email. You need to promote it, to your email list, but you also need to plan out your social media and the in-person flyers and how you're going to follow up with people and how you're going to talk about it at the clinic. It's a lot of work, and it probably seems daunting. And like you're right, these things are a lot of work. Welcome to running a business, basically, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to do at Patch, right? Is we're trying to help enable clinic owners to do what they do best and be the best clinicians, run their business, and really lean into the in-person reach out side of things. So if you want help planning these out, shoot me over a message. If you liked this podcast and you think a clinic owner in your universe will enjoy this, definitely share it with them. Please subscribe to the pod, and I'll talk to you guys soon.